Welcome to Seasons of Life, a biblical perspective for how to navigate life's ups and downs. Do you feel overwhelmed? Or do you feel successful? Experiencing loss? This weekly 15-minute word of inspiration will motivate you to live with more wisdom and peace. Here is your host, Pastor Mercy Oduah.
Hello, my Seasons of Life community. I'm excited to bring you another episode of Seasons of Life. As you know, the Seasons of Life episode is a biblical, practical way to handle life challenges. Yes, those tough challenges of life, there is a biblical, practical way to handle them. Seasons of life are unavoidable, the good and the not so good. So my inspiration aspires to empower you with biblical support and guidance as you navigate the seasons of your life, especially the challenging seasons. I am sharing from my seasons of life experiences, hoping they will benefit you as you go through the ups and downs of life. So if you are watching me for the first time, kindly share this video on your platform so that we can become a community of support. Thank you for sharing. I have been inspiring you on developing a possibility mindset. Throughout this year, the beginning of this year, I have been talking about developing a possibility mindset because I feel something in the air. I feel a miracle in the air for somebody as we develop a possibility mindset. Why? Because God cannot be a God of all possibility while we have impossible mind. No, we have to align our mindset with the mind of God. So we have been looking at ways to develop the possibility mindset. And the first way I discussed 2 weeks ago was to take your eyes off your situation. Because when you look at your situation, it will discourage you. So you take your eyes off your situation, off your challenges, because they are not bigger than God. The second way we discussed last week was to frame your mind with the Word of God. Yes, develop the possibility mindset, anchoring your mind with the Word of God. Possibility mindset does not just come anyhow, otherwise, it becomes a fantasy, and fantasy does not produce miracle. So you use the Word of God to guide you to developing the possibility mindset. So today, episode 49, we discuss another way to develop a possibility mindset, and that is to know that God is more than willing to make the impossible possible in your life. The third way is to know that God is more than willing. He is, remember the word I'm using, He is more than willing to make the impossible possible in your life. This is not wishful thinking. God is not stingy. God does not delight in our suffering and pain. God is full of mercy and compassion. Yes, He will allow us to go through tough seasons to develop us. But in those challenging seasons, He is there with us, loving and caring for us. The enemy might give you the impression that God does not care about what you are going through and that God is not willing to help you. I want you to know that it is a lie. I want you to know that God is willing to intervene miraculously in those challenging seasons of life. So let us now look at example, because example is the best teacher. Example will empower us to know that God had done it in the past and He will do it again because He remains the same. So let us look at one biblical case in the Bible to prove that God is more than willing to help you, to give you a miracle as you begin to think outside the box. not limiting him. And this story is in the book of Matthew, chapter 8, verses 1 to 3. I tell you, this story touched my heart each time I read it. It was about a man with leprosy who came to Jesus and worshiped him. And he said to Jesus, Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean. Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean. What happened? Jesus put his hand and touched the leper, saying, I am willing, be clean. And immediately his leprosy was cleansed. Wow, that is powerful. That is touching. The leopard man touched the heart of Jesus with his one sentence prayer request. He did not need to pray long to convince Jesus to heal him because Jesus was willing. Jesus was more than willing to heal him. The man had an incurable disease called leprosy. In those days, leprosy was very severe because you became an outcast. People with leprosy was called untouchables. It was worse than modern day COVID because with COVID, you quarantine 2 weeks and you get back to everyday life. But with leprosy, patients are driven outside the city. Leprosy was considered an incurable disease, so the society tried to hide them. They were secluded in a corner in the community. And when they move in colonies, they move in groups, and they were supposed to send warning out by shouting unclean, unclean, so that people will clear out of the way for them to move. That was how bad leprosy was. So the leopard man boldly came to Jesus when he heard that Jesus was around. And that's what some of us need to do. We need to approach God. We need to go to God with those impossible situations. He saw the possibility of his impossible situation. He knew that all things were possible. However, he was unsure if Jesus would heal him because of negative societal impression about leprosy. He was not sure. So he approached Jesus with humility by worshiping him, and he asked, Lord, if you are willing, you can make me whole. Jesus responded, saying to the leper, I am willing. Jesus not only answered with words, but he also touched the man. Jesus had broken their rules by touching the leopard man, because in those days you were not supposed to touch a leper. When you touch a leper, you yourself becomes unclean. But Jesus did not care about the rules. Jesus did not care about the protocol. What he cared about was to touch the man so that he could convey a sympathy and a feeling of love to the man. His compassion and desire to heal the man made him to touch the man, and the man's leprosy immediately vanished. My God, are you seeing what I'm seeing? Are you seeing the possibility out of that situation? Jesus would have healed the man from a distance without touching him. But when the man came to Jesus and presented himself with his possibility mindset, Jesus did not drive the man away as people may have expected. Rather, he healed the man. I want you to know that to develop a possibility mindset for a miracle, you must understand that God is willing to give you the miracle that you are waiting for. So, what is the application of this story to your case? How do you apply this story to your case? How do you personalize this story to those impossible situations in your life? Lack of job, hard doors that are closed, health issues, marital issues, those tough situations, how do you apply this to your life? I want you to know that God is willing to make impossible situation possible according to his will. The leopard man did not ask for anything outside the mind of God. It is God's desire for us to prosper, be in good health, and do great things. But remember that the enemy will put a roadblock that seems impossible. But as we encounter those impossibilities, we must know that God is not the one blocking us from having what he has already made up his mind for. If God is opening a door for a business for you, why will God make it impossible for you to go to that business? So you see, God opens the door. God has given us everything that we need, but the enemy puts roadblock to us. I want you to know that God is willing to intervene in your tough seasons of life. I like how the book of 2 Peter chapter 1 verse 3 puts it. It says that God's divine power has granted us everything about life and godliness through his proper knowledge. What does that mean? God has provided all that we need to make it in life by his divine power, not by your own power, by his divine power alone. So in that impossible situation, I want you to believe God. I want you to know that God is more than willing. As you begin to establish, as you begin to cultivate a possibility mindset, and to have a possibility mindset is to know that God is willing to give you the miracle that you are looking for. He is more than willing. The friends might not give you, family might not give you, society might make it hard. But I want you to be encouraged this year that God is willing. And knowing that God is willing, now you need now to frame your mind. You need to talk to yourself and say, God is willing to give me this miracle. And now begin to expect that miracle. As I close, I charge you to take the limit off your mindset. Take the limit off your mindset. Do not limit God. Do not limit him. I want you to be open as you believe. And that is the most important thing that you need to do. Be open this year for possibilities, knowing that God is willing. I want you to meditate on the book of Matthew, chapter 8, verses 1 to 3, telling you that God is willing to intervene in that situation. God is willing to visit you so that that door that you're knocking will open. That impossible situation will turn around. Why? Because God is not limited by anything. And because we belong to him, nothing should limit us. It's about changing our mindset. It's about looking at life through the lenses of possibility, knowing that all things are possible to them that believe. So next week, we are rounding up this topic and we're going to be doing something practical. We are rounding up with doing a practical exercise to establish the possibility mindset. I will take you to practical exercise. It's a surprise. I'm not going to say it, but get ready to practicalize. Get ready to develop that possibility mindset. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord cause his face to shine upon you. And may the Lord enable you to know that he is willing, more than willing, to intervene in that impossible situation. He is more than willing to give you and us a miracle this year, 2023. You shall have your testimony. Shalom, and see you next week.
Thank you for watching this episode of Seasons of Life. Until next time, be well, and may God bless you.